Okay, got my video uploaded for YouTube, got my Wowhead guide uploaded for Wowhead. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Wait. What's this? What's up, guys? This is Preheat. So obviously there are some changes when it comes to Evoker. They just buffed Pyre in a big way. They also changed how Eye of Infinity works, basically killing the talent off. You know, this isn't actually bad news, and I will kind of talk about a little bit more of this, even though it will definitely nerf our single target by a little bit. But I think overall these are healthy changes, and I'm definitely going to expand on that in just a little bit. But first I want to talk about a change that's actually affecting all players. It isn't just Evokers. So the first change here is just that Blizzard is basically saying that healers are too powerful. They're trying to look into ways to try to reduce the amount of healing that healers are basically doing here. So if you see this, basically the bottom line is that they are increasing player stamina and creature damage by 40% at level 70. This is going to have obviously an effect on the entire game. It isn't just one portion of it. We will need to see the impact of this, obviously, but I will say that I agree with what they're kind of saying here. They're saying that when damage mitigation abilities are too strong relative to player health, the only way to threaten players is to make enemy damage very high and spiky. And you know, I agree with their summation here that it's not very satisfying gameplay. That's true. What I would like to see is how they're actually going to balance Mythic Plus around this, right? Because it feels like generally Mythic Plus is very, very overtuned, and if they're keeping creature damage at 40%, you know, increase, and also stamina at 40% increase, then they're just nerfing healing, and in those Mythic Pluses, it's going to feel, you know, just the same, right? Unless they actually address some of the Mythic Plus damage. So I expect them to actually revisit how the damage is being dealt in Mythic Plus to probably reduce that. You know, like they're saying, they don't want to have it be super bursty, right? They don't want to have the difficulty be just top players before they get bursted down. They want to have it be a little bit more impactful with, you know, using your cooldowns and your healing. So in theory, all of this sounds really, really good, but we'll have to see how it actually turns out in practice. I'm going to reserve my judgment on this until I actually play the content and test it out. So, but I feel like this is something that y'all should be aware of because, yeah, I mean, you have 40% more health now, and enemies have 40% more damage. Basically, healing is nerfed because of this, right? And that does affect Evoker because we do absolutely heal. But anyways, moving on from this, so Devastation got some pretty big changes here. It may not look like much, but this is actually insanely impactful in the spec, okay? So there's two parts of this. Number one is that Pyre is buffed, okay? And number two is that Eye of Infinity is nerfed. Now, at first glance, you might see this and see Eternity Surge Critical Strikes no longer give Essence Burst. Well, that just kills the 2-target cleave, right? That kills all the funnel damage. And you're not wrong about that. It does definitely kill the funnel, which is probably one of the biggest benefits of the spec. However, I think this is a good change. And the reason why I think this is a good change is because you can't really fix Pyre versus Disintegrate in the situation it is right now, so long as Disintegrate is returning Essence Burst. If you know, casting Disintegrate has a chance to give you back an Essence Burst, but casting Pyre does not have a chance to give you back an Essence Burst, it becomes very, very difficult to try and tune those two abilities against each other, especially when it comes to damage outside of cooldowns, where you do not have a guaranteed chance at getting you know, an Essence Burst from doing a builder. So what this change is doing is it's basically making it so that Eye of Infinity is no longer going to give you Essence Burst. Therefore, the opportunity cost of pressing Pyre versus Disintegrate is now more even, right? But obviously this has unintended consequences. First off, it's basically going to make this talent useless. We'll basically never run Eye of Infinity anymore at all. The good news is, however, that we don't really need this talent. In fact, we actually have a pretty good talent as an alternative. So if you just go through the tree, like just quickly parsing through it, you'll notice very quickly here that we do actually have, we have an alternative for this, right? Like we don't have to go with that specific talent. We do have another option here, Causality. And this talent, you know, even though it's historically been around 4 to 5% behind, like it's not bad. It's a decent talent. It just was nowhere near as good as Eye of Infinity, right? And Eye of Infinity obviously had synergy with Scintillation. It had synergy with Eternity Span and Cleave. So, you know, it's going to feel really bad to be missing this talent, right? You know, losing Eye of Infinity feels really, really bad. However, this is a good change. Like, this is a healthy change for us as a class because I don't really see any other way for them to fix Pyre. Like I was saying, like if you have Pyre, And the opportunity cost there is that you cannot generate Essence Burst because it's not going to ever give you back an Essence Burst because, you know, Eye of Infinity doesn't work with it. Then it's really hard to balance it, right? And then you're kind of stuck using Disintegrating AOE. There's really no way around it. But with this new change, you know, we basically decoupled it from that Essence Burst equation. And other talents like Feed the Flames are still good, right? Everburning Flames, it's still good. Shattering Star is still good. All of those talents are still good. It's just that, like, across the board, it's around a 5% nerf in single target, okay? So we have lost around 5% of our damage. This also affects our stats as well. It doesn't make crit bad. Crit is still decent because we have a talent that increases our crit value here, right? We have Spellweaver's Dominance, but crit is nowhere near as strong as it used to be, okay? It's no longer a situation where it's like, oh, just go Mastery Crit, and that's what you want to do. No, it's probably more like you want to go Mastery Haste, or you can still go Mastery Crit, but there's definitely going to be like a value of Haste where, you know, Haste starts taking over, and it's the more dominant stat, okay? But if anything, this just kind of equals out the stats, you know, obviously below Mastery. Mastery is still just a very, very good stat, but... yeah, so a couple things with Causality. So obviously Causality is done through Essence abilities. It's not done through Essence Burst, right? That's an important distinction here because Feed the Flame says Essence Burst specifically, whereas Causality is from any Essence abilities, right? They're all 1 second, and this is going to allow us more Eternity Surges. So in AoE, it isn't just an increase to the amount of Pyre damage, right? We aren't just getting 30% more Pyre damage. We're also actually getting more damage from Eternity Surge, right? Because Eternity Surge in AoE is quite good, and the fact that we're getting more cooldown reduction on this means that we're just going to do more AoE damage with Eternity Surge. So this is fantastic. Also, because Pyre's damage is 30% increased, right? Automatically it becomes more valuable, and the fact that we aren't having the chance to get Essence Burst back from Disintegrate also factors into this. Yeah, when it comes down to the math of it, you know, if we look at the new values of Pyre and we look at Charge Blast and all that, I actually have a spreadsheet I've already kind of been working on here, and I updated the values with the new coefficients, and it does look like Pyre has actually worked it at 2 targets with maximum stacks. I think we would probably want to apply Shattering Star to the targets, right, before we actually do this, which is going to be additional 20% on that, but it's still pretty good. I mean, you know, this is the value to beat, right? So the value with Scintillation, the coefficient, and this is obviously, you know, 2 GCDs versus 1 GCD with Pyre, but still, you know, we're looking at this in terms of essence, right? The value to beat is 26,000, and if it's 25,000 with 20 stacks of Charge Blast, that's close enough, right? That's close enough where we would probably use Pyre at 2 targets, but obviously we would want to apply the Shattering Star debuff first. And then in 3 targets, it's roughly 10 stacks of Charge Blast, right? So this is pretty easy to think about here. You could think about 4 targets as just, you know, use Pyre at any amount of stacks. You can think about 3 at least 9 or 10, right? Halfway there. And then at 2 targets, cap it out. So, I mean, this is going to make us use Pyre more. Basically, Pyre has become an ability that we use now in, you know, in some situations in 2 target, in some situations in 3 target, and then we start using it mostly in 4 target and up, right? And I feel like this is kind of what people wanted. This is what we were all hoping for. We were all wanting to press Pyre more in AoE. We just didn't really have a good reason to. Now, it does kind of suck that, you know, we obviously lost this awesome niche of being like a funnel 2 target cleaver. But you know, this is a small price to pay for the actual rotation to feel like it makes more sense. And you know, increases like this to volatility, although I'm not really sure if this is going to make me ever choose this talent, it definitely feels like you know, I might actually pick it now, right? Because even though it doesn't benefit from Charge Blast, it's still really good in AoE. So I could definitely see myself considering this. I'll have to play around with it in Mythic Plus before I make you know, a real determination here, but it seems pretty good. Also, I feel like this is important to note. So this actually does affect Charge Blast as well, right? So like in AoE, whenever we're taking the Charge Blast talent and we're increasing the damage on Pyre, I mean, this is just basically 60% more in a situation where Charge Blast is fully stacked up, right? Because it's a 30% increase, Charge Blast doubles the amount there, and that's just going to make our Pyres from our Dragon Rage, right? Because it does fire off those 3 Pyres. That's going to just be even stronger with Charge Blast. So across the board, this is a positive change. I know that a lot of you are probably feeling a little sad about losing our Essence Burst, Spender, Crazy Machine Gun, Disintegrate build with Eye of Infinity, but overall this is a healthy change for the game, and this allows them to, you know, give us more adjustments later down the road, right? Because if we're going to get like some sort of aura adjustment because we're undertuned, something like this is going to actually allow Pyre and other spells that are used only in AOE or you know, starting after cleave. This is going to give those talents more room to actually grow. So yeah, I think this is all really, really good news. So just to recap the changes, right? Basically, Pyre's buffed by 30%. Eye of Infinity is a dead talent. We now play Causality instead. Our talent build is probably going to look something kind of like this. It's mostly the same. The only difference there is that we have Causality now, right? And then obviously, if you didn't want to run Charge Blast for like more 2-target cleave, you could run Focusing Iris here, right? This would be a good swap to make. But for the most part, this is going to be kind of what we run. And then in AOE, you know, we can start considering maybe dropping Catalyze, maybe picking up a point in Volatility, possibly picking up both points in Volatility, right, if we want to, or grabbing Onyx Legacy instead. It definitely gives us some options here. There's definitely room for playing around with this and having some fun with different combinations. But overall, good changes, right? Good changes. These are in the right direction. It is a nerf. It's around 5% nerf, right? But still, I'm happy with this. It's good. I will have to rewrite significant portions of the guide. I'm also going to have to redo how to play in Prepatch. So, you know, expect another video on that. But for the time being, I just wanted to give you all this update so that you understand kind of where we stand, right, in terms of this change and whether or not this is a good change. It did, you know, obviously answer is yes, this is a good change. So anyways, thank you all for watching, and for more information on Evoker and Mage, be sure to subscribe to my channel, ring that notification bell, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.